It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we are diving into the Cinemacon reveals, but especially for Sony's Kraven. I think we have a lot to talk about this one, surprisingly.
Kraven for Kraven.
That's right. The Flash's early screening was also there. We'll talk a little bit about it and how to avoid spoilers in a modern world. Batman has several animated projects at Amazon, in case you didn't see these, and more.
Do you think people back in the day, like mud farmers, were just like, we're living in the modern world today. I finally switched over from a hoe with a hoe that has a slight additional grip on the end of it. Modern times.
I don't think they called them hoes back then. I think they called them winches.
Winches.
I'm kidding.
No.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I mean, you got to think like wooden tools to metal tools, right? Like that was probably a big transition along the way.
The Bronze Age, yeah, what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
I do have to apologize to the podcast audience. From Chris's end of the microphone, you might occasionally hear soothing but cute like cats in the background, and on my end, I'm performing an ick that I have personally, so I apologize. I have a cup and straw with Diet Coke in it, but I had to ice it down because it was room temperature. So now I have this like jingling thing of ice. I don't know if it's
I hear it. I hear it.
Microphone right now. This is me putting it right up to the mic. I'm going to be more judicious about circumventing the mic, using the mute button if I can, because I hate it. I don't understand. Like, I think the ick is not necessarily the sound to me. It's just like, when you're in like an office environment, or maybe if you're just around other people, like people are super serious about their like beverages, whether it's like iced coffee or water or whatever. Somebody always has like a gargantuan like drink vessel that they have on their body, and it's filled with ice, and every time it moves like a millimeter, you just hear this cascade of ice cubes, and I'm just like, okay, your thirst is not this intense. No. You do not need all of this equipment just to be hydrated. So I hope I don't pass this.
This is a weird hill to die on, Mike, but I'll give it to you. There's been worse.
It's
also,
just like you just don't need so many accessories just to drink water. That's all I'm saying.
It's ice. It's ice and a straw. I whatever you think, man. I'm not a nice person myself. It makes my teeth cold. But I've got a bottle. I actually have you can probably hear mine. Actually, mine's a lid. It's got the clicky lid and flips up. So I usually leave it open if I'm going to be drinking during the show. So I don't do that. But honestly, the other thing is, other than Mike's apologies for his ice and my cats, which are around here somewhere, are we're recording on Saturday because I have to leave town again on Sunday. And Mike is gracious enough to give me some of his Saturday today to record this.
Yeah, and Saturday I like Saturday podcast vibes though. We don't get to do it often, but I do feel like I'm more energized, right? I feel like when we record on Sunday after I wrap up, I'm just like, okay, what are the last couple things I can accomplish, stuff in through the weekend, and then wind down, then get back to like, the 9 to 5, right? But on a Saturday, I feel like the world's my oyster after we're done recording the podcast. Yeah,
you have a lot more to do, and I have things to do this weekend, like I'll just go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and jump into this. Actually, I want to play more of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which came out on Friday, which is the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, which came out, I think 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. The Souls-like Star Wars game, and I will tell you, it does something in sequel games that I absolutely love, Mike. Right out the gate, when you start this game, you don't have to relearn all your powers from scratch. Like, you're not a depowered person. You have everything from the last game right there.
I'm not trying to cut you off or stop you.
Yeah.
Please continue talking about this topic if you would like to. But what you're saying right there is going to be an amazing segue into what I'll be talking about.
I know, because what you're talking about, I've seen it, so I understand where this is going. So that's why I'm going to flip these around a little bit. So what I really enjoy about this game, it is again, I'm still playing the first level. You're introduced, it's 5 years in the future, so there's some different characters pretty early on you're meeting. You're having a good time. You're picking up abilities. In video games these days, if you don't have a grapple hook or like some sort of like grip and zip ability, you're not in the mainstream games. This game has one for you. You
hear that, folks? Chris says you got to grip it and zip it.
That's right, you do. Halo has it. Call of Duty has it. I mean, they're throwing these in there. I love the traversal mechanics in this game. I love the lightsaber combat. I've only got to play with a little bit, but this game has you have different fighting stances, and I think I mentioned this before. So there's like one where you have double blades. Your lightsaber splits in two, so you have two. So you're actually like very quick, and you can parry easy, but you don't do a lot of damage. There is one which is obviously the double bladed lightsaber like Darth Maul. You can I guess deflect bullets and block attacks better than the standard fare, which is right down the middle. They do tease you. There is one later. It's a cross guard one, like Kylo Ren's lightsaber, but it's a heavy attack stance. So like you're more open, but you hit pretty hard. And one of the cool things in this version of the game, you actually dismember enemies as well, Mike, with your lightsaber, which is like one of the things I know you love, right? You love a good clean dismemberment. Yeah.
The one thing that Star Wars needed more of desperately is dismemberment.
Yeah, and it's cool because Storm like you have a lightsaber. Like in the last game, it's kind of like hitting them with a wiffle ball bat, right? You're like, there's some marks across their armor, but like you're not really doing anything to them. Like I get it, it's kind of thing, but that's no, you're cutting arms off. There is a boss, I would say not fairly early on, but a boss battle, and there are heads being removed in this battle, Mike. So it's very fun. I'm very early on. I'm not beat it yet, but like I'm just happy that you don't have to like, I'm a depowered Jedi and I have to learn how to force push and pull things again over the course of a game, which is very very sucky. But I'm having a good time. I think they've really taken the traversal mechanics, the lightsaber battles, the skill point system is upgraded a little bit more. It's just like an improvement, right? A lot of sequel games sometimes do the same thing again, and this has a nice polish on it in terms of gameplay and the environment, the levels, because there are going to be things that you have to come back for because you don't have abilities yet, or so on and so forth. It's really fun.
Also, not to mention a lot of these kind of modern IP games, right, try to just stuff in microtransactions and turn it into like this bloated just cash hog, right? This seems to be a game that, even though I've barely played it, seems to be focused very heavily on the narrative and the storytelling.
Yes.
So much to the point where it really does start to feel like that they're trying to put this character, that redheaded actor, really seems like they're trying to put him in something on Disney+. I don't exactly remember where this lands on the timeline. Is this before or after the Death Star?
In between 3 and 4. So this is Andor season 1.
Andor Obi-Wan era, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so if they could plug him in there, I keep getting this advertisement for it into my social feeds where it's like the actor in the mocap suit.
Yeah, with Mark Hamill.
Yeah, Mark Hamill's like training him. It's funny. So I could see him going live action at some point in time.
They really use his likeness like really hard, so I could see that as well. And this one again, he's more. The first one, he's more of a kid. This one, they did use his more adult personality and looks with it.
And I do suppose, too, he doesn't necessarily have to be relegated to Andor Obi-Wan. Like, you could age up the character, maybe a decade, and then he could make it into the Mando timeline. I think that's probably about the time frame, right?
I would say about 15 years. Like, 50, because 10 more years would be the start of... He's at the midway point between 3 and 4. So, like, Luke would be about 10 right now. So he's, like, 20. So, like, about 15 years, and he could be in the Mandalorian era if you want to.
They could do it. I mean, he's got those video game polished graphics. He looks a little bit younger anyway.
And I honestly think, if they do a third game, which I believe they will, right? This company Respawn, they did Titanfall and those games. I think if they end up making a third game, they could literally, if they wanted to jump forward that far, they could easily, right? And just bypass all this stuff. But again, to the point, the first game had no DLC, right? Even to the point, like, not just microtransactions, no DLC even, like, for extra campaign levels that you buy. They're like, no, this is our story and this is our game and this is what we want to do with it. And you just don't get that very often, right? And, we mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy was one of the last games that kind of did that. Like, this is a single player story, and we're not adding anything else to it. So that's a really cool, I guess. I hate to say feature, but like, it's glad to see companies are still being empowered to do that without having to add and add and add. But it's really fun. I think, if no one has played Fallen Order, is probably on sale this week while the other one's coming out. I went ahead and 100%ed it last weekend, knocked it all the way out. Even the achievements, so very excited to get through this. And it's got a lot of great action, Mike, and action can also translate to movies as well, which you watched an action movie finally this weekend.
Here's my segue. As Chris was saying earlier, a sequel that only improves upon its successor and keeps the train running, and that is, I can't see it being more well-defined than John Wick 4.
Yeah.
I finally got a chance to see it because I finally got my wife hooked into the universe. Just the other weekend, I was mentioning we finished 2 and 3, and we were just like, hell yeah, John Wick 4, date night. We went on like a Wednesday night. Surprisingly, like, not the theater wasn't full, but there were still people there, and we were just having like a great time, like hooping and hollering. You get to the whole movie is like cranked to 11, but once you get to like the second half of the movie, like now the entire theater has like bought into it. You're just like on the edge of your seat. People are gasping, cheering, clapping. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
This movie is so good, and I can't sing the praises of the John Wick franchise anymore. It's just amazing. I knew that there was this kind of like top-down shot in the film because it kind of hit some articles online about, how did they film this sequence of the movie? So I was waiting for it to come, and when it happened, he's got this fucking fire shotgun. Sorry for dropping the F-bombs, but I feel like the movie...
No, you're fine.
The movie requires it, that these fire shotguns... It's just it was just the whole movie. Every sequence is amazing. Like they start off strong at an Osaka Continental.
They don't even
ninja swords, bows, nunchucks. It's freaking wild.
I would say, like, again, and I talked about this a couple months ago when I watched this. Like, one of the cool parts about it is the villains, right? They actually kind of enhance them a little bit, right? Like, they're like armored villains this time, so it's not as easy as just shooting them once and putting them all down. Like, you have to, like, he has to, and everyone else has to like beat up on them a little bit more before they're taken out completely. Yeah,
it's like, not to mention, like, all of the action and choreography is amazing. The new characters added to this film are so well thought out and unique. We got a new character, which is almost as like kind of like a copy paste of Stick from the Daredevil universe, and they literally call him Kane, which is so funny because they're doing an homage and a reference to the character, so there is no ripoff happening, and plays it so brilliantly. Everything's so just like beautifully painted on the screen. And like what you were talking about too, when it comes to like this armor and stuff, if there's one thing in the John Wick universe at one point in time that made me go a little bit like, maybe this is a step too far, it's when they kind of made the bulletproof suits, if you will, because John Wick, for the most part, was pretty grounded in reality, right? The over-the-top action, yes, would never really quite happen in real life, but everything was adhering to just kind of like the rules of like realistic, quote-unquote, cinema, right? And then they introduced these bulletproof suits, and I'm like, okay, this might be a step too far. But I feel like they've just woven it in, I guess, pun intended, to the universe really, really well, where, like, if we're going to do this, right, let's actually lean into it to where let's make it part of the combat. So there's other characters that have these bulletproof suits, and they literally hold up parts of the coat as a shield. All of the fighting styles reflect on, I'm wearing a bulletproof suit so I can get away with these things. And it's just so brilliant. And actually, it's circular, and it comes back around onto itself, because every time you're watching one of these gun-driven action movies, the whole time you're thinking, if somebody has a sword or if somebody has a knife or, like, I don't know, a bow and arrow or something, you're just like, you're stupid. why are you fighting with your fist? Just shoot him, and the fight is over. We all know the very famous scene from Indiana Jones where the dude comes out and he's whipping all the scimitars around, and then Indy just like shoots him, right? That's like, it's so iconic. But in John Wick, it actually makes sense if everybody is basically bulletproof in a way, right? You you gotta get in close, and a blade is actually really useful because the blade just gets in there like a bullet can't. It's just so amazingly thought out.
Well, and the other part is, the fight styles, knowing you're wearing a bulletproof suit, if you will, you have to protect certain parts of your body, and you know which parts to protect. So there are parts, and this is no spoiler, where like you're pulling your jacket above your head a couple times. Like when someone's gonna try to shoot at your head, right? So like you see them do that, and I think there are a couple. I think there are like 2 slow points in the movie. I like that really. It didn't take me out of it, but they kind of slowed down. But everything else is so fast paced, and I really love the nightclub scene. I think I mentioned that the first time too, Mike. The nightclub scene with this
the golden teeth.
The golden teeth. Yeah, so that's actually a thinner man in a fat suit, if you will. And you can tell, but it is a fun thing to watch. That whole scene, the poker scene, right? They're playing the poker stuff. Like the tension is there. The new character is interesting. The guy with the dog, right? I don't.
Oh, the tracker.
The tracker. Yeah, like I get what he's doing, but he kind of came up out of nowhere. I'm like, you feel like Halle Berry's character in 4, but a different version of it, right? Like another very well-equipped person who can shoot and has a dog as a sidekick. I'm like, I get it. So but overall I think it's great. I think everyone should watch it, right? I agree with you wholeheartedly.
It's fantastic. They like I was mentioning last week when I was talking about the trilogy that I had seen is Hollywood is making these movies how they used to do it back in the day, right? You start off small and you grow bigger, and you adapt to the growing size of the audience, and the budget continues to match that, right? But I feel like they're also doing it perfectly storytelling-wise, right? Where you've got to up the ante every movie, and I can't imagine them going any bigger than they did in this movie, but I'm sure as hell think that they're going to try, right? They kind of, no spoilers, I'll try to keep it spoiler-free here. Yeah. But they do kind of, I would say, wrap up the movie slightly in this film, but they're definitely not they're not marketing this as like John Wick the final chapter. They're not marketing this as like an end to like the story. It's just called John Wick Chapter 4. There's nothing else to it. So it really feels like they're hinting. I know they're doing the spinoff show about the Continental. They're doing the spinoff movie about the ballerina. Yep. So there's more to tell in this universe for sure. But I feel like this is not the last that we're seeing of John Wick. And this is just so much. I can't recommend these 4 movies any more than I feel like we could turn this whole podcast into just like a John Wick weekly show at this point. It's just so good. I can't recommend it anymore. I'm so glad I went and saw it in the theater.
Yeah, I got a theory for this movie, Mike. That we'll take it off air. But I think we both, like I said, I watched the opening weekend. Mike's finally got around to it. I think it's well worth watching. So. Absolutely check that out, and be prepared for more of the. It's not really the John Wick verse. Were they gonna? They need to come up with a name for it, right? Because if they go to Continental and Ballerina, it's more like a.
It almost feels like
assassin universe,
like the high table universe, if you will.
Yeah, the high table. Yeah, so, absolutely. Let's shift gears. Let's get into this a little bit because this is an interesting thing here. Also, kind of what I've been doing, but also. For people who are out there, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the red carpet debuted on Thursday, and early reactions and I believe critic reviews are out because Rotten Tomatoes, I think, has a score. I haven't looked it up yet. I've avoided all of this. But on the flip side, Mike, I got to watch it last night, a whole week early, and this is a rarity here in the Midwest. We don't have the movie stars or the studios here, so I was very thankful to do this. I had to drive a little bit, not too far to watch it, but there was a little bit of a drive. Some people came from like Ohio, like 5 hours to watch this movie yesterday. And it was a really fun experience. So I've been to the same place. I watched Shang-Chi early there and a couple other movies. I will tell you, I didn't think they would show previews. They showed like actual trailers for all the Disney movies coming out before this, like Little Mermaid, The Marvels, Anything Disney is coming out, so that was interesting. But I did get to watch the movie, Mike, and I'm not going to spoil it here for anybody. I do not want to spoil this, but I will tell you, for this Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Mike, my early reaction is that there will be a lot of people crying in this theater, as I was watching this. It's very we have come to a point in Marvel, like the last movie we had was Ant-Man, right? Quantumania, action schlock movie, right? Nothing really big. Black Panther, another emotional movie before that, right? But that one didn't feel like a superhero movie. This is a trilogy capper brought to us by James Gunn and the cast and all the actors like in there. It's just really a really touching film, Mike. Now, it's not without its flaws, and when we talk about it next week, I've got some things we'd like to talk, but I honestly think everyone should watch this movie in theaters. Like, we were lucky our preview was an IMAX, right? The IMAX, the screen was very, very tall, and the music and sound was very, very loud. So it was a full, like, encompassing experience, and it's cool because you can hear stuff around you, right? Behind you, left, right, because, you're in space. There's a lot of stuff going on. I highly recommend people go to the theaters to see this because it is very immersive in this movie when you watch it.
Yeah, well, this is definitely one of those transcendent movies where I hear it from my mother.
Yeah.
I was FaceTiming with her yesterday. She was like, "Oh yeah, that new Guardians movie is coming out next week. Me and your dad are gonna go see that on like discount night Tuesday or something after it comes out." And just like, if it's on my mom's radar before it even comes out, this movie's going to do well financially, right?
Yeah.
You're really activating a group of just very casual movie fans with these iconic characters, which is crazy to think that like these characters are now iconic, right? Everyone knows Rocket and Groot, and even some people on the street might be able to say, "Oh yeah, that's Nebula. That's who that is."
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of these actors, were popular and have gone on to do more things. But I fully agree. Financially, I think this movie is going to rake in money, right? But is it the quality expected is? And I despite being middling on the fence on the Suicide Squad, right? Because of just we've talked about it in things. James Gunn really knows these characters. He has honed them in over the past 9 years, and it really comes to fruition. And the script, he may have had it written before he was fired and then rehired, from Marvel or Disney, from Alan Horn. But like, it really does a great job with these characters and wraps everything up. And if you've not seen the Guardians Christmas special or holiday special, you need to watch it to go into this. I think just a little bit. It helps explain it in that. Not explain, like, I guess there's the one part, right? And just to spoil it if you haven't watched it, but you should know this going in, that Mantis and Star-Lord are brother and sister, right? And that does carry that tidbit of information carries over into this quite a bit for it. They did show there is a 2 post-credit scenes, Mike. One at the end of all the credits are actually the same on this, and it's really cool to watch the credits. So there's one mid credits and one at the end credits, if you will.
Gotcha.
For that. So absolutely. I still have tickets to go see it on Thursday. I'm going to go re-see it. I'm not going to talk anything else about it, but if you have questions, you can shoot me questions. There officially, Mike, I will say officially, the first Marvel F word in this movie.
Nice.
And I just say that for anyone who has kids who is very, I guess, averse to that, because no Marvel movie, it's still PG-13. They, one doesn't push a tar, but it is in here in case you have kids. So I'm only saying that for notification. And it was a good time. What's great about the audience on these early screenings, Mike, is because they like, you can't record the movie. They don't tell you to. They didn't take our phones this time because the movie's kind of, I guess, out in the world, right? Reviewers are out, but like, everyone there has come a long way and gotten a very limited ticket to watch this. So there was no distractions the entire movie. Like, everyone literally shut their phone off and watched this movie, and like, you were really part of a really, really good crowd for that. So I just applaud that.
That's a rarity nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. So I recommend everyone go watch this in the theater, and we will be talking about this next week whenever we come back and everyone gets a chance to watch Guardians of Volume 3. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about Cinemacon for a little bit. We got Cinemacon here, and then we got some extra news that didn't come out of Cinemacon. So, Las Vegas. If you were in Vegas this weekend for Cinemacon, we had to look this up. We're both idiots. I'll admit it, through and through. We always get it confused with CCXP, which is Brazil Comic Con, because they both literally have, like, the same, I guess, initials, right? Cinemacon and
they're
CCXP.
both kind of like the oddball cons where like they're not.
They're
I feel
industry.
like they don't really have much. They don't have much of like a legacy to them. Like
Yeah.
we don't like attribute them to like a comic book convention or a certain brand or IP or like that. So they just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's more, again, like I said, they're more like industry conventions rather than actual, like, oh, the fans are going to come out here and we're going to have all the actors. So it's very, very industry. But, Sony had a day, Warner Brothers, DC had a day, Marvel, Disney, Universal as well. Had some time panels here. So we're going to go through kind of what we thought. And the first one that jumped out was Sony. Sony had the first day on, I believe, was it Monday, maybe, or Tuesday. And they showed like 15 to 20 minutes of Into the Spider-Verse there. Now, none of this footage has leaked yet. That doesn't mean it won't. But none of it is leaked. But they're really showing Gwen coming into Miles' universe. We've seen that right in the trailer, like where she shows up. And stuff. So like they're like showing like this possible relationship between them. I don't know what that's going to turn into. But they also tease a secret voice actor for this movie. Like there's a Scarlet Spider who has a voice actor, and then another one the director said like people like applauded for when they heard it in the movie. And I'm like,
No.
What is going on? Like, what voice actor is so iconic to get people to clap in a screening?
Yeah, it makes me wonder. Like, I feel like maybe it would or wouldn't be a Spider-Man. Like, I'm trying to think, like, could I recognize Andrew Garfield's voice or Tobey Maguire's? Maybe Tom Holland, because he's got kind of like that upbeat kind of like teenage voice, even though he's not a teenager anymore.
Yeah.
So I guess my bet's on Tom Holland.
Yeah. I would also think my fear would be it's like somebody like the 90s Spider-Man guy, and I'm just not going to know. Because I'm like,
that would be cool. I feel like I would recognize his voice.
like a classic, classic Spider-Man, more or less of a recent one. I'm trying to think of who else would it be, like, whose voice is so a voice actor or actor who maybe hasn't been a Spider-Man before, but like you hear it and you know who it is, right? Like, hopefully it's not Seth Rogen or something like that. Like I'm talking, maybe they got Chris Pratt to be Spider-Man, like Mario. No, I'm kidding. I can't think of anybody, but this is like a very intriguing. I feel like I'm going to be, again, we always talk about the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's leaning and pointing at the screen. Like, I feel like that's what we're going to be doing in this movie with all the Spider-Man people with it. But I'm very excited because this is one of two movies that crosses through, multiple universes that we're going to be talking about today for that. But yeah, Into the Spider-Verse, that comes out this summer, right? I believe it's June. We've got a loaded June coming up, folks. So get ready for that. On the flip side, they showed the very first footage for Kraven the Hunter, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, and
whether you want it or not, it's here.
It is here. Well, you brought up a good point. We'll talk about it here in a second. This is an R-rated movie. I did not expect Sony to put out an R-rated Spider-Man character movie, right? Like Venom didn't even get an R rating. They strayed straight to PG-13 on that, right? Despite him being very, very brutal. But they're going straight R with this. And you brought up a point. Our excitement levels are pretty high because there are literally... They could do anything in this movie, and guess what? It doesn't affect anything else in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, it just, like, we love dogging on Morbius, right?
Yeah.
Like, I
it's
famously
easy.
don't like the Venom movies, but I feel like... there's no, like, I don't want to say I'm stressed when I go to any of these movies, right? But I feel like I'm trying to track the story. Where could it go? Let's try to internalize my thoughts and feelings so I can bring it on the podcast on the weekend. I'm trying to take in all these things and really like savor them. Kind of like if you go out to a really expensive restaurant and you want to remember every bite. I feel like going to these movies is just like trash fast food, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Yeah, put French fries inside of that burger. Yeah, I'll slap some cheese on whatever this is. I don't care what's happening. So that's kind of the vibe I get from this kind of villain universe. Yeah, give me a Morbius too. I don't care anymore. Like, I'm just trying my best just to indulge.
And Kraven here, like, again, this is, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, I think, great actor, right? He's good in Bullet Train. He was Quicksilver in the Marvel. He has his pick of whatever he wants to do. But the fact they're leaning to this R rating, like they showed him literally biting the nose off a person in this footage, like immediately, and like spears, like impaling people left and right. They're also, the Rhino is the villain in this, and he's like, a dude is transforming into a rhinoceros man in this. Like they're like, I don't know much about it. Russell Crowe's in it, by the way, in case anyone forgot. Is in here. Like,
I was reading like some descriptions. I guess there's supposed to be like a little bit of strife between Kraven and his
brother,
Kraven's father. Or
no, his brother.
Like
his brother, the chameleon, is actually in this, and it's supposed to be his brother.
Yeah, I swear I thought I saw father. But anyway, it seems like there's going to be some sort of family dynamic that maybe is driving the story more than just like, we got to catch the Rhino.
Yeah, so exactly. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. I think that's intriguing to me because I also, like, they could make this movie and it could be, again, like you mentioned, complete trash, right? Garbage, right? But like, there's no stakes. Like this isn't MCU level. This isn't multiverse level. Like, if Sony wants to make another Kraven movie in 3 years and wipe this one off the planet, they're gonna do it. Like, right? Mm-hmm. They can do whatever they want. So, I like the idea of just going in and not having to worry about what this is setting up or doing later down the road because they don't even know.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was a rumor or confirmed or what, but I did see a headline just a little bit ago that it looks like the Rhino is not going to be Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
I wanted them just to go all in, just give us that Rhino, because Paul Giamatti is just so hilarious. It'd be such a funny casting move, but it's some actor I did not recognize. So it looks like we're not anchoring this into the Andrew Garfield verse.
No, not at all. So Kraven's supposed to be, again, probably like the anti-hero, right, of the movie. And they did show him. He pulled out his big lion mane vest out of a chest or a dresser or something at some point as well in this footage. I've not seen this footage. I was really hoping somebody leaked it by now. But I'm very intrigued on how. For lack of a better, balls to the wall they're going with this movie.
Well, we got Kraven, we got Venom, we got Morbius, we have Raven, maybe, possibly.
Raven
could always Vulture. Sorry, not Raven.
Oh yeah,
getting my birds confused here.
Yeah.
And then I guess Scorpion is out there canonically, right? In some way.
He's in the MCU verse, but also
that's right. He's in a different universe.
Madam Web movie is coming out.
Oh yeah, so we're collecting this group of villains, and I'm just like, well, who are all the villains gonna fight? Is it really gonna be? Maybe that's what you bring back Andrew Garfield Spider-Man for.
Yeah.
You're just like, it's a recognizable Spider-Man. He's gotten all the check-offs from like the audience and like the VPs right at the studio. Let's have this kind of like used pre-owned Spider-Man come in and fight these villains.
He also doesn't necessarily, like, they could bring in a Mary Jane love interest for him if they wanted to, because he never had that in his universe, right? Like, they killed Gwen Stacy instead. They could do that if they want to. They could do that. I mean, maybe. I honestly, if Kraven didn't meet up with anybody else and they didn't like move towards a Sinister Six movie, I think I'd still be fine with this. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. We don't need Spider-Man in here. Just keep making these one-off popcorn movies that I don't have to worry about. I can just watch and forget afterwards. So, but yeah, it could be Andrew Garfield would be, if they wanted to team up against him, I think that would be the best of the three, right, to do, because he only had the two movies. That could be a good third outing in a way for Andrew Garfield at the end of the day, for that. So yeah. On the flip side, a movie that I would say would probably suck the air out of the room is a movie based on the Gran Turismo video games from PlayStation. They showed some footage of this movie. Apparently, it's a coming-of-age sports drama film. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and just plead my ignorance here.
Yeah.
I've played like Gran Turismo maybe once or twice in my life. As far as I know, this is basically just a racing simulator, right? There's never really been story attached to this at all, right?
You are correct. Yes.
So really, it's just a script that's borrowing a name,
an IP, yeah,
to sell tickets.
yeah. It is being directed by Neil Blomkamp, right? District 9 fame.
Whoa, that's wild.
Yep.
Coming back to Hollywood, he kind of like infamously like retreated because he hated it.
Yeah, and then it's also starring David Harbour and Orlando Bloom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this really does just feel like, oh, this could be a good movie. How are we going to get people to go see it? Throw Gran Turismo on it. I feel like it almost does the opposite for me, right? I feel like giving it just a random video game name kind of
here
brings it down a level. Like, what was the Need for Speed movie with
Aaron Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, well, the Need for Speed, some of those had stories. So here it is, the premise. The film is about a Gran Turismo player whose gaming skills won a series of Nissan-sponsored video game competitions to become an actual professional race car driver.
Oh my god! Actually, I kind of like that. What is that? What's that classic film where the kid's really good at the arcade game and then they recruit him to fight aliens?
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! Yeah.
What is that? The Last Starfighter?
Yeah, Last Starfighter. Yeah, Last Starfighter. And then it's what was the game with Fred Savage? He had the Nintendo Power Glove. Was he was also in the game kind of thing?
I mean, I don't know anything about like kind of like high end racing, but I feel like the one thing I am kind of familiar with it's a very elite thing to do, right? You need a lot of money, you need a team, you need sponsors and stuff. I could see like maybe a scrappy upstart team is just like, oh, we don't have the money to like hire like one of these like elite drivers. Where can we find one? Like, oh, let's just get it from a video game. It'll be easier to teach that person how to drive a car, than just pay for somebody who's really expensive. Okay, Chris, you sold me. Yep. I started off this little segment no, throw it in the trash, and now I'm like, okay, I'll watch it.
Well, I think I want to see. It's supposed to come out August of this year. I would like to see a little bit of it before I kind of commit to this. Car movies don't really excite me, right? It's like watching NASCAR. They drive fast and they turn left a little bit. I know Gran Turismo tracks are different. I'm just not excited about a racing movie, but that's like simply because it's just cars going really, really fast and looking really, really shiny.
This would have been a great segue if we were talking about Transformers next, because that movie is indeed about cars.
We will get to Transformers. Sometimes it's about cars. Sometimes it's about gorillas. And we'll talk about those. But Gran Turismo, they showed some footage off there. I don't have anything to show from that either, but do get ready for that coming out August. On the flip side, The Flash had an early screening at Cinemacon after the panel. However, they also gave us a brand new trailer from Cinemacon, Mike. And this is probably, I think, the biggest trailer this week, right? There were two trailers, and this is, I think, the biggest one. And I will also say, in our show notes, we have the regular trailer from Cinemacon that everyone saw, and a Japanese trailer. I need to find the link. I will have it linked in our shows. The Japanese trailer has an entirely different version of footage, like entirely different cut of this movie. Wow. So if you want to see extra footage of that.
I have not seen that. I mean, we do get some additional Michael Keaton Batman and Ben Affleck Batman in here. There's just more Batman overall.
Mm-hmm. It's a Batman movie, and The Flash just happens to be there.
There's more Zod. I feel like I'm not tracking exactly what lines are new or not, but this one feels more emotionally intense than the previous trailer.
It kind of feels more the story out here, right? The other one's like really good, action scenes. We know the Flash is going to go back, save his mom, and get stuck in another universe where there's a Batman.
I'm curious if we're gonna get more of a surprise villain, right? Because I feel like. Are you really going to hang the entire movie on Zod being the villain again?
The movie we saw in 2013 with Superman already, like how fitting the DC EU ends on the same note it started on, right? With Zod coming into this. Now, I think there is something else here. I do think there is something else. Usually, again, this is just theory. I've not looked into the people who saw the movie. Some people have put the spoilers online. I've not seen any spoilers. So this is completely theory. Now, when you have two versions of one character and one says nobody's going to die, there's probably going to be a conflict of some kind. Because Barry has to kill his mom again to reset the timeline.
Yeah, I mean, Supergirl has a very intense moment in this trailer, like, what have you done? Which seems more like something that you say to somebody you trust that made a bad decision, less of just like, oh, Zod killed somebody. What have you done? Like, well, Zod's going to kill people. We're not going to be surprised necessarily when he does that. I think the craziest thing about this whole movie, we've been talking about it for years and years and years, is we just don't know what's going to come out of it at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
You know, people that saw the movie can see narratively where they're going, but just recently, people were talking to James Gunn, I would assume on the Guardians of the Galaxy red carpet, and he will not confirm the future of Ezra Miller still. So they are like, you know, they are still waiting to see, you know, some cynical people, you know, are going like, oh, you know, this movie will make a lot of money and they'll keep Ezra no matter what they've done, right? But I think they're just kind of like playing it safe of like, we have an entire slate of brand new movies to go here. We are not going to draw any lines in the sand just yet.
Right.
And it's all supposed to start off with Superman, which I don't even think goes into production until next year.
James Gunn just showed, I think it's end of the year. They're in pre-production now, right? He showed the script the other day and like, we're kicking off pre-production. So it might be end of the year, right? We have no casting. You know, is James Gunn, does it start with that? Does it start with Blue Beetle? Does just James Gunn's personal hand start with Superman, right? Because he's mentioned Blue Beetle being in this, like, you know, being retooled to work in this. So like, you know, I can see, you know, I don't think I'm cynical. I think in a perfect world, you know, this movie makes enough money to get a sequel or warrant, hey, let's look at a sequel for The Flash. And Ezra Miller has gone through his, you know, his therapy and come out the other side as a different person. You know, thankfully no one was hurt, killed, maimed, or whatever. Too bad. And he comes out and, you know, he's repentant and can continue on as a movie star, and they would find a way to make this multiverse work in his favor. Or James Gunn doesn't worry about The Flash for another several years and focus on the characters we never got, right? Like, we never had a Green Lantern. You know, I guess we had Hawkman in that Black Adam movie, but do we want to get like a... You know, what are some Justice League characters we haven't got, Mike, in a while? Like, do we get a movie version of Green Arrow?
And that, honestly, it's the least exciting strategy, but it could be the best strategy, right? Where you just take a break, right? You know, I could imagine there could be like blip style effects like Marvel that you see through the DC universe where like, oh, there's some like stray lightning and that's our indication for the audience to know that like, oh, the universe has changed and this is the new like direction that we're going, right? But yeah, we could just like not see the Flash or Barry Allen again for like 5, 6, 7, 8+ years, and when that rolls around, it's just a new actor. You know, we've just rolled on to the next thing.
Or it's Wally West, right? There are literally other Flash main characters who are bigger, just as big as Barry Allen, and maybe they're like, oh, here's Wally, and then if they want to bring a Barry back to have multiple Flash later, they could do that easily. Like, hey, we pulled them out of another universe, we finally found them, kind of thing. And
but it's like all that being said. I feel like all of this will be figured out once the movie finally comes out, right? Yeah. Because they're going to have to make some, you know, definitive statements, especially if they're getting like big, nice box office returns, right? So
they'll probably just be like, we're still thinking about it. Like, Warner Brothers does not move fast, I guess, is would be my other flip side of that, which is crazy.
In the meantime, we will just sit here and wait patiently.
That's right, kind of. We'll kind of wait patiently. So this movie comes out in June. We have an image here, by the way, from the trailer. This dropped before the trailer did, showing off 2 Barry Allens, one in a very cool Flash suit. Looks like a brand new Flash suit, right? In his gold suit with the thing. The other Barry in his Batman painted suit, which is funny looking. Now notice one has blue lightning and one has yellow lightning. That's I think that's a nice touch. And then obviously Supergirl in her Supergirl outfit. And this looks like maybe where they're fighting Zod, maybe. It looks like they're about to go fight Zod.
Yeah, there seems to be some sort of action set piece in like a big, wide open area. I don't know, if it's
like a desert
flats or something like that.
Yeah, I would say the other part of this trailer that I did, I hate to do this, but they pulled it out of a Marvel movie. Is where Batman falls out of his. He's like, "Where's your parachute?" I'm like, they just did this with Captain America in the Winter Soldier, like where he jumped out of a car with it. We know they're superheroes. They have powers. They can jump out without parachutes. Like, come on, think of a better joke in this moment, if you will. The other thing is the director has said that the original cut was 4 hours long, but please don't fucking tell people this because I don't want to release the whatever cut. Yeah, what's his name? He directed the It movies.
I thought you were going to say Zack Snyder.
No. The Flash the Flash the director of the Flash. I can't think of his name, but yeah, I don't. We don't need to know that there were extra footage on the floor. People just need to let it go. Just say, this is the movie. Taika Waititi, despite how you feel about Thor: Love and Thunder, he was like, this is the movie. There's no extra scenes. So, there's no release the, Waititi cut for Thor's. But anyway, Flash, new trailer, Japanese trailer, Mike. I linked it in there. It's on Twitter. Check that out whenever you guys get a chance. I think it's really, really fun. I'm excited to watch this because, again, like we talked about, I feel like they can go crazy as they want, and at the end they're like, we don't need to do anything anymore. This is the end of the DCU, finally. Sadly, the Blue Beetle movie had some footage, but guess what? It was the same footage we've already seen, Mike. And they had the suit on display. Did you see the pictures of the suit they had in the hallways there at the?
No, I didn't.
So it's this Blue Beetle suit. Looks pretty cool. I mean, honestly, for what they were, it was going to be a streaming movie, then converted to TV or not TV. Converted to theater.
We've gotten pretty good looks at it too. Like the very, very, very first on set photos was this suit smashed into a convertible or something.
Yeah,
I think, and then walking around. Yeah, it looks good. It's a good looking suit.
Yeah, I'm glad it's practical. That's the beauty of this one. So glad it's practical. And we'll talk about more if they hopefully they'll release some trailers later. The other side is the last bit of DC's news was Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Apparently they got a trailer, Mike, and we didn't get to see the trailer, but I did pull out some tidbits from a description here that there will be a black trident that I believe Black Manta is using. There are zombies in this, probably being raised by this black trident, and some Arctic settings as well, not just I guess the Mediterranean is what was in the last one. Looking stuff. I
mean, this movie is a big dice roll for sure too. We didn't talk about it on the show, but there was some initial kind of audience thoughts from test screenings, and you got to take those with huge grains of salt, right? Because you don't know at what phase the movie is in, right? Are you only getting selective notes from note cards and just ignoring the good reviews? But
or people who never saw the first one are watching us and they don't know what's happening.
Exactly, but the reactions were not good. Very, very, very bad. I think, quote, worst DC movie ever made, which seems shocking because this is relatively the same creative team, coming back to make a sequel. So you would think it would at least be on par. If it was worse, it wouldn't be that much different than the first film. But we do know that this has gone through its own drama with the Mara.
Yeah.
And we don't even know how much has retained in this film.
She was in the trailer, they did say, but a very short like a snippet, rather than actual extended scenes.
Maybe she gets eaten by a shark.
Maybe zombies.
The black trident, yeah.
A
zombie shark eats her or something. Yeah. So and then also we don't really know the future necessarily of Jason Momoa in the DC universe. It's just not clear. So we got to get the Flash movie out of the way. We got to get Aquaman out of the way, and then finally start to pivot. Yeah,
Aquaman came out was it 2018? Was that right? That movie made $1 billion. Right. Yeah, it was 2018. It made $1 billion, right? Remember how much money that movie made? Somehow over time, and let's see, $1.15 billion, and they're this second one's the worst movie DCU movie. I've seen some bad DCEU movies, Mike. So I don't know what they're talking about, but the best you have to just same as, and you probably still make a little money on this. So it's kind of sad to hear that there is that drama. Again, James Wan is returning as a director, so the zombies make sense, right? He's a horror guy through and through. He helped invent the Saw franchise, which is getting its 10th movie, by the way. I don't know if you saw that. They announced that this week. So I'm hoping for something good, but we'll get closer as we maybe get a trailer with the Flash later this summer. On the flip side of this, Marvel and Disney were the next day, and Marvel literally showed the same Guardians of Marvel's footage that everybody's seen. James Gunn, also, he wasn't there to talk about these things because he was doing the red carpet stuff for Guardians. But they literally were like, here's the Guardians Volume 3, here's Marvel's footage, and come back and see us at San Diego Comic-Con. So it sounds like they're putting their their energy and ducks in a row for that, and just kind of getting ready for, I would say, maybe a new schedule of movies for us going forward, rather than what we've already written down for everything.
Yeah, we either a new film announcements or maybe filling some of those gaps that we haven't quite heard about.
I think it's gonna. I think they might announce some stuff after Fantastic Four, but like, I really feel they're gonna space everything out, so we might get all these movies maybe stretched out a year or two, right? To space. What was it? Bob Iger said they want to slow down releases a little bit. So I think they'll do the same movies, just a little more time in between them to prevent that. And lastly, for Disney was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Harrison Ford has said he is done with Indiana Jones after this movie. Dude's like, what, 80? Like, how old is he? I'm going to pull this up.
Yeah, not trying to be mean, but like...
Yeah, he's 80 years old. Like, he can't
Harrison,
keep doing
you don't
it.
got a lot of time left for a lot of things in general, which sounds harsh, but also, like, not surprising coming from Harrison Ford, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the only reason... I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to read tea leaves or like a crystal ball when it comes to Harrison Ford, right? Because the attitude out there in the world was he was just this old curmudgeon, and you basically had to pry him out of an airplane to get him onto a movie set, right? But I feel like maybe he's slightly more sophisticated than we're giving him credit for, and he is really responding well to if the script that you pass across his desk is good, right? He was amazing in Shrinking season 1, which all of you have to go watch. And I would imagine he resonates with that type of character. We're like, oh, this is great. This is the role I want to play. So he must have a soft spot for Indy, but maybe not so much of a soft spot for Han Solo. Maybe just because there's just too much nerd attention.
I wouldn't even say
ire directed towards Star Wars. Like, I know they got him back to the table to do Han Solo, but like, wasn't his demand like, you have to kill me?
Well,
like,
he always wanted out of that, years and years ago, back when they were filming it, right? So I wouldn't say it's something new, but like, if you look at like, you can kind of see his, if you look at his filmography, like his eras, really, when you've made a lot of movie in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you probably don't need to act a lot, right? So I wouldn't say maybe he was a commercial, but like, if you're like, he's not just taking schlock there at the end. Like, he's not doing Sean Connery's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen there at the, like he did at the end. But like, he does have some good stuff, coming up. Again, Captain America. In the Thunderbolts, he's playing, Gerald Ross. He's in Indiana Jones. You mentioned what was the show? Shrinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's in the Yellowstone spinoff. Was it 1923? I think. So he's doing some stuff right now that is critically really well, heralded is really well done. So I can't.
I mean, maybe he's just like
him.
Maybe he's just in like a new phase of his life, right?
Yeah.
Of just like, I want to get back out there and start working again.
Yeah, he's like I'm 80, I'm bored. Like, I'll do stuff, but I'm going to do it on my terms, right? I don't need the money. I think he's fine on money. So, I did forget he was a voice in The Secret Life of Pets 2, Mike. By the way, so
Oh boy.
yeah. I forgot to mention, yesterday was the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, and that was in movie theaters. They were showing it while I was waiting to go see Guardians. I'm like, well, what if I just popped in here beforehand? But it didn't end before we got in there, sadly. So, but yeah, so Harrison Ford done with Indiana Jones. Cool. Good for him for doing so many of them. And coming back after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Not Kingdom, yeah, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Transformers, Universal, the next day, Rise of the Beast. New trailer out, and boy, this just ruined every hope I had for this movie, all in one trailer, Mike. I was like, oh, this looks fun and exciting and very focused, and this looks like a goddamn mess after watching this trailer.
Doesn't it just seem like they didn't learn their lesson, or they didn't connect with what worked with Bumblebee, right? Yeah. Like, Bumblebee was a smaller scale movie focused more on the character of Haley Steinfeld and like her family and
just Bumblebee, like a couple Transformers.
Yeah, and it just made it feel more real, and you could connect to it. It felt more down to earth, and also physically the Transformers were just smaller, right?
Oh.
So you could kind of share the screen with them more as a human. And I'm not saying necessarily they've increased the size of them in this movie, but they increased the scope of everything. You watch this trailer, and it just looks like a Transformers like 6. It just looks like we're still in that kind of Michael Bay timeline from back in the day, that huge kind of action sequence at the end.
Yeah, so like there's like a big CGI battle at the end, it looks like, right? Where like you have the Maximals and the Autobots versus the Terrorcons and Unicron, who is actually the planet in Transformers 6. So how is he actually coming to the planet in this? I don't know how they're doing this. None of this is making any sense. Trying to make sense of Transformers lore is confusing to begin with, but at least I'm lining up 2 movies apart rather than trying to line up movie 1 to 7. Mm-hmm. I will say, there are cool Scorpion robots, right? Those were cool, like the Scorponok and whatever. But it just looks like just a big CGI mess at the end of the day, and that really disappoints me because I've been hyping this up. I'm like, look, it's Beast Wars. We're getting the Beasts again, and
the Beasts just don't make any sense.
Yeah.
And there's a line in the trailer that hints at it. It's just like, Will, we've been hiding here in the darkness or something on Earth for centuries now, and then there's like some shots of them in the jungle or forest flying around, and I'm just like, what set of eyeballs is looking at this metal gorilla thinking it's real in any way?
It all again, assuming they've been seen, Transformers are good at hiding. Remember the Dinobots that were there from that one movie that were there thousands of years as well? So Megatron crashed into the Hoover Dam as well. Transformers have apparently been on Earth forever, Mike, and we just have to accept that. They're
going to be better off. You know what? Next time one of these metal organisms come to our planet, disguise yourself as just a tree or a bush or something. Like that's you're not going to have to worry about the decades. Yeah. Those have always existed.
Yeah. So really, I was really excited until I saw this, and it looks like it's just going to be like another run-of-the-mill Michael Bay-esque Transformers movie, right? And that's really sad to kind of see. We get a lot more of it's Pete Davidson's character. He's the blue car that the main characters drive around in.
That was Pete Davidson. I didn't realize.
Yeah, he didn't sound as annoying as he does in real life, does he? And then oh my gosh, the guy who he was in Game of Thrones, and then he was in Infinity War. He's the troll, or the oh my gosh, Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage is the voice of the villain Scourge in this. But
okay.
I want to see the Beast, but like I'm not really thrilled. So anyway, Transformers: Rise of the Beast. You can check out that trailer here. Sad to say, my hopes are diminished. However, on the flip side, there's a theatrical animated Transformers movie announced this weekend called Transformers 1, which is an animated prequel to the Transformers universe, which shows like back on like Cybertron and like before all the movies started, right?
Wow! And
Chris Hemsworth is voicing Optimus Prime.
Okay.
So like they literally have a again Transformers. I've got the other thing here. Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, Keegan-Michael Key, John Hamm, and Lawrence Fishburne are also in this movie, Mike, as well.
I mean, that is. I feel like that's. I don't know. Like Optimus Prime's voice is so iconic, and I understand the voice actor won't be around forever, but I feel like Chris Pratt is not the right.
Not Chris Pratt. Hemsworth.
Oh, Hemsworth. Oh, okay. Never mind. Makes a little bit more sense. At least the modulation and the tone of voice is more in line with an Optimus kind of booming.
I know you went straight to Mario, but absolutely. Keegan-Michael Key is returning for this. He will actually be Bumblebee in that movie.
All right. I mean, I suppose we will actually need a Bumblebee voice, right? Because he doesn't lose his voice.
There's no American radio on Cybertron thousands of years ago. But yeah, to me, again, this sounds fun. It sounds cool to see a theatrical animated Transformers movie. We haven't had one since Transformers the movies in the late '80s. So it sounds like there's some faith in the IP as a whole, if you will.
Yeah.
So
my guess is that they'll lean into like the newer kind of animation style of like 3D animating the robots, just because it just saves so much time. So
yeah, and
we'll
they
have
had
to see if that vibes.
Netflix did that show. Was it War for Cybertron as well? That was 3D CG, so that they may have some models already, but they're already doing CGI battles en masse in these movies. What's an animated movie to them at this point? So, oh well, we'll check that. I don't have any footage, but as that comes out, we'll keep you guys posted as well. Let's shift some gear. I got some Batman news here I didn't expect to talk about, Mike. So this is really fun. Batman Caped Crusader, the animated series, is based on Batman, the animated series from the 90s, right? Has been picked up for 2 seasons at Amazon Prime rather than just 1.
Hello.
So it sounds like, again, we always talk about this, and no one, I think, I talked to someone outside of the show, they don't realize it. They don't just make 1 season of an animated show and then stop and then wait for feedback and then make another. They usually do 2 at a time, get all the voice actors in, animate it together, and then check how 2 seasons did before they order some more.
Yeah, it's just too cost prohibitive. You kind of have to keep the steam train running for a little while and just hope that it pays off. And usually animated content just has a much longer tail. So you can, it'll last for a long time, and it'll be a good crown in your catalog. Yeah,
absolutely. And yeah, it's Batman, right? It's a proven IP. You're not gonna have like a lot of people railing against it, and it's even got a lot of the same creative team behind the animated series. So I think this will be a big win for Amazon on theirs. But the other Amazon Batman stuff is where my ears kind of perked up a little bit, and this is called Merry Little Batman, Mike. It's a movie, an animated movie. And I've included the first image of it here in our show notes, so you can take a look at this thing, and right away you're gonna be like, "This looks familiar." This movie is being directed by Mike Roth, who has worked on the regular show, and from a script from Morgan Evans, who has written Teen Titans Go.
It gives me vibes of when they did those Aquaman animated shorts on HBO Max.
Oh yeah,
where they weren't entirely sure, what they wanted to do with DC on the HBO Max platform.
Yeah. So Bruce Wayne, who's a big upside down pyramid of a man here, and is like looks like a lumberjack, a very very old decrepit hunchback looking Alfred, and then a little bitty I guess kid version of Damian Wayne dressing up as Batman here, if you will, in a little bitty Batman suit. But the plot of this movie is Damian Wayne becomes little Batman to prevent villains from ruining the holidays in Gotham. So it sounds like Batman himself, Bruce Wayne, will not be around for some of this movie.
So are they trying to say this is going to be like kind of like a holiday special type of deal?
Yeah, it's a movie, so it's a full-length movie, so I don't know if it's a holiday special, but it will spin off into a show called Bat Family, which is our next bit of news here. So the Bat Family is a series that follows where Merry Little Batman ends, and with Alfred Batman and Damian Wayne, who is now permanently Little Batman, and newcomers to Wayne Manor, they navigate the fun and frustrations of life as a super family.
Wow, I can't wait to see the nerds on the internet come after this exactly how they came after Aquaman.
Yeah.
Not realizing that this content is not made for them and it's made for children. So please remember that.
At the same time, though, I think this has a little bit more draw for us because, again, we're fans of regular show. We're fans of Teen Titans Go to the movies, right? There was some there's adult humor in animation there, right? While still being both good for kids and adults. So I think I really hope this is gonna strike that really good mix for us between the two, because some of that regular show stuff's dark, but it's also pretty funny, right? And kids like it. So I'm hoping for the best here, man. Like this, I did not expect Amazon to announce a animated movie and a series for Batman all at the same time this week. So it sounds like they're snuggling up against Warner Brothers to get that. That's our Cinemacon news. Did you have anything else out of Cinemacon that we didn't have in our notes here? It was a kind of a whirlwind.
No, I mean, I don't know if this came out of Cinemacon, and it doesn't really come across our plate on the show that often. Maybe we'll talk about it when it gets a little bit closer. But I know that there's a Hunger Games prequel trailer that did drop. But we'll probably pay a little bit more attention to that once it heats up a little bit more.
Yeah, was that the something of Songbirds and Snakes or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Ballad of Songbirds.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I was like, not really up our alley, but we'll see kind of how this plays out as it kind of gets closer for that. But Cinemacon kind of okay. Just Sony coming at us with some really weird stuff, and Warner Brothers hitting them with that Flash screening. So cool stuff for that. But let's talk about. I got 3 bits of news from Marvel here that did not come out of Cinemacon. So first and foremost, Captain America: New World Order, Mike. The island, the Celestial, that has just been sitting out there in the ocean for several movies, right? 2 full years of movies now. Possibly 3 by the time this drops, is that they will turn this island, will be the home to adamantium, the metal that is in Wolverine's skeleton, and is also comparable to vibranium.
So what do they mean by home to it? Like they're going to find new adamantium there?
They've never had adamantium in the MCU, so this will be the first time they discover it, is with the Celestials remains.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm thinking vibranium in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess all these precious metals out there in the world. So do we think the Celestial has it, like the dead Celestial has it inside of it?
I think that's the theory. I did see some set photos of them like filming at an island. It looks like a little island. I'm like, this could literally be any island. But this has been heating up for a while now, this rumor about the adamantium. So it could be part of the Celestial structure or inside it, right? Like maybe you mine enough Celestial, you'll find some adamantium.
I mean, I love the concept because it's one of those little small kind of background stories that they tell in Pacific Rim, right? When those what did they call the monsters in Pacific Rim? The kaiju?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if they just called them kaiju. It's such a general term for a big monster. But they would harvest, the goo and stuff out of them and like put it on the black market. So it makes sense that they would do that in the MCU with this new thing there. Mm-hmm. And it kind of hints maybe at the title, New World Order, right? We just watched an entire movie of how difficult it is to invade somebody's homeworld and steal their vibranium. Well, why don't we just get this adamantium that's just right here, this brand new island, and there could be all these territorial disputes over who owns it and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly, because it's technically not really. It was out on open water, right? So whoever gets there first, I guess, gets it, and it would make that whole Eternals bit, more relevant, right? It's not been relevant. It's not been touched on even. So, They also used celestial goo in the first Guardians of the Galaxy. You remember whenever they go into the skull of nowhere, they're pulling out the spinal fluid and stuff. It's all that yellow goo.
Oh yeah, they are mining that head. Yeah.
So I could see some relation there. With it's hardened due to Cersei stuff, and So I'm excited to see what that turns into. I think it'd be fun to get some vibranium, and imagine this new Captain America having a vibranium shield. Or adamantium shield rather than a vibranium shield. So, we'll keep you guys posted that comes out. I think that's fun. 2 bits of Fantastic Four news here. This one dropped hard that even other people reached out to me about. Is that Antonio Banderas is rumored to be Galactus, Mike, in this movie. I didn't even know Galactus was going to be in it at this point.
I mean, I would assume that's mainly going to be mocap. Pull in some facial features of Antonio Banderas, right? To put
like a Thanos kind of thing,
yeah, the face. But I mean, Galactus even more so is just kind of like an alien monster creature, in a way, but humanoid. So I mean, that's cool. Antonio Banderas, he's great.
Yeah,
I mean, amazing in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
That's right. That's probably the gig that got him this. They were like, we love your voice work in these movies. Also, you're a handsome man, and he's going to be in Indiana Jones, the new Indiana Jones movie. I think that's great. I think that'd be a good gig for Galactus, and we're overdue for a human Galactus.
I'm looking up Galactus helmet off. Does he ever take his? Oh my gosh, the first picture is just very kind of like Jack Kirby back in the day, and he just has a black. Just black slick back hair. I thought there was going to be more exciting. But, all right. I've just never seen Galactus without his helmet. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, it is true. Because in the comic books, he was a man from the previous iteration of the dimension, and he survived through it. And that's what that kind of gave him his powers a little bit. But, yeah, he's not really... The helmet makes it feel like he's got a big head, right? So... It's weird to see with that.
Well, yeah, the biggest question about Galactus still is what scale are they going to make this man?
Yeah.
Is he going to be the size of Celestial? Is he going to be kind of more like a a giant on Earth? Like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see what they do with it, and hopefully they do it right. The other thing is the character of the Thing, right? Big rock dude. Mm-hmm. Apparently, they're looking at both men and women actors to play this role in this movie.
I'm just reading. I just read the line item. This is hilarious.
And one of the front runners right now is actress Mila Kunis to play the Thing.
Now, I have to say, like, this is obviously gonna cause a shitstorm, right?
Yep.
There are gonna be people up in arms about this. I'm open to it for the most part. Like, you know, I guess it wouldn't be Ben Grimm anymore.
Yeah.
It would be
Benjamina Grimm.
Brittany Grimm.
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, it's fine. It would be kind of odd though. Like, are you gonna give like the Rock character like a feminine silhouette? Is it gonna have like a rock chest? I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
Mila Kunis. I don't. I feel like if I had to just be instinctual about this, right? I would say, I think we want a more accurate depiction of the character we've all fallen in love with in the comics first.
Yep.
You know, maybe, and then maybe work our way backwards. You know, maybe there's a multiversal version of Thing that is Mila Kunis. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying not to be like super reactionary about it. So whatever.
Yeah. So the thing is, again, Ben Grimm in the comic books is he's known to be Jewish, and they're looking at Jewish actors, both male and female. So this was people thought, Mila Kunis is going to be Sue Storm. No, that was not what she was being asked for there at Marvel. So she may not take it. You know, this may just be a thing. There was a version of the Thing in the comics that was female, by the way, and it was a character. Her name was Sharon Ventura, not Ben Grimm. So
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up now. Like, oh yeah, it just does. It just it's just funny. There are a couple more rocks up in the chest section, but the character is kind of in like a unitard. Right. I guess to avoid the question of what is underneath. Oh my God, here's another one. It's one where there's more like voluptuous rocks and like kind of like the shirt.
Your rule 34 in the internet here,
This
Mike.
This is strange. I don't know. I feel like I toe this line where I'm just like, yes, just do the craziest thing because I want to see the internet get insane and go work themselves into a frenzy. But at the same time, I think we all just want a good Fantastic Four movie, which I think for the most part we can trust Marvel to do that.
They put a lot of time on this one. This isn't one that I feel like they've rushed out at all, right?
Yeah. And this one has to work, right? This is one of the bigger superhero groups that just has not come into their roster yet, and they can't do this wrong.
Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, absolutely. So I mean, this is true. I trust in them. You know, maybe the character has been written gender neutral, right? Because it's a rock person. But we'll see. I just thought that was a very, very interesting bit of news to drop on a Friday.
What a pivot.
Friday night. Yeah, absolutely. Lastly, the last bit of news here I have is for Blade. Nick Pizzolatto, who has worked on True Detective with Mahershala Ali, is writing the script now. He's currently the person writing the script for this movie to come out in a couple of years. And in case we didn't, I think we already announced this a while, but Yan Demange, who worked on White Boy Rick and Lovecraft Country, is directing it.
Well, we do know that Mahershala Ali was very vocal that he was going to be kind of a creative component with this film. Mm-hmm. So I'm not surprised to see that he's bringing in
trusted,
a writer, somebody that he's worked with before. So hopefully this movie finds its footing. It seems like this has been very loose ground for this film for a while now. So hopefully they finally landed on something. Yeah,
I think the other part is, in their credit, they've not been afraid to delay it, right? To find the right bit of work here, rather than just, hey, we announced Blade, let's go ahead and put it out. They've delayed it officially to get this right. So maybe we'll cross our fingers that it's done well at the end of the day. With that, that's our episode for this week, Mike. Let's wrap it up. Let's get out of here. But we'll be back next week with 2 episodes. But if people want to know what you're doing, where you're at in the meantime, where can they get you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can read my brand new webcomic, Life Rewards Risk, at Life Reward Risk or liferewardsrisk.com. It's kind of hard to say it. So I bought like both versions of the domain name in case somebody spells it wrong or hears it wrong. So you'll get there no matter what. But Chris, if you want to catch up with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87. I did post a picture of the screen from the early Guardians thing there last night. They had a little thing on the screen saying share and like and comment. But if people know about the show, get ready for our Guardians review next week, because we will come back with our Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 review in a regular episode. Where can they get ready for all that good stuff?
Oh, all you got to do is head on over to superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. If you want to see all the trailers and images that we talked about this week, we got that over on the website. You can like us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to fine podcasts. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out. What did you think about the news that came out of Cinemacon this week? Are you hyped? Are you excited? What do you think about The Flash? Let us know. And we love our super fans. If you want to be a super fan of Superhero Slate, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be back next week, folks.
That's right. We'll catch you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.